4 series in the second half, guys. 4 series. They're down 24-17. They turn the ball over 3 times and they punt once. That's just, to me, that's what ends up with a rookie quarterback, right? We had the Tyson Bagent game against the Raiders, and now we have this Tyson Bagent game against the Saints, and it's the better team won. I think we all knew that the Saints were a better team. We all picked the Saints to win, but I'll tell you this, though, at least we were entertained. I think we were picking a game where it was going to be 31-10 or 27-10 I picked, and there were some good things in the game we'll talk about. There's a lot of bad things that happened, but the better team won, and the team won than I thought. But again, it goes back to Tyson Bagent, and I also think this, guys. I think there were some plays that Luke Getty called well. There's some we're always going to question, but I also ultimately think he put too much on his plate. He is a rookie quarterback. They ran the ball for 156 yards, right? I mean, that, to me, and you're only down 7, stop putting him in that many positions to force turnovers. Give him a chance to hand the ball off, get the running game going, make it a little easier on him. Like we always say, he's an undrafted free agent out of Shepherd. He's not Drew Brees. He's not Matt Ryan in the Superdome coming down with 2 minutes and 26 seconds to win the game. Make it easier on him all the way up to that point. I thought he put a lot of pressure on him, and it's tough for a rookie to do that in the Superdome. But the better team won today.
Yeah, that is true, man. I mean, it's the turnovers, right? It's just they didn't play well. It's hard because you're watching, like you guys are saying, and I'm expecting them to get dismantled, right, with the week they had, with the guys they have out on defense, and they don't. They don't get dismantled, so it's like, gosh, it's almost, as an analyst, it's like you're taking moral victories from the Chicago Bears.
Right.
All of a sudden, watching this game, like you said, Pat, some guys played well. Not only do you take something off his plate, but then go to DJ Moore when you do, right?
Yeah.
Don't go to Mully's favorite guy, Jones, and have DJ Moore blocking. Don't hand off the ball to Tyler Scott on a reverse. I just think they could put the ball again in DJ Moore's hands more often. And I also think to take some pressure off the quarterback, like you're saying, Pat, I think you have to have a feeling for which way you need to run the ball there late in the game. And I thought Tevin Jenkins and Darnell Wright, although not every time, right? Not every time, but I thought they played really well. I thought Tevin Jenkins, I put a spotlight on him in the pregame, and boy, did he look good playing out there today. He gave that Saints defense line everything they could handle. But Dan Pompei said in the pregame show that this Saints defense, you got to be careful. They're really good at taking the ball away. And when Dan saying that kept ringing in my head every time they got to take away, and they end up with 5. End up with a caused fumble late in the game, and it's just, that's what the Bears are, right, Mully? They're not talented enough.
Yeah, they're never going to win a game if they have that many turnovers, and it's a pity because I thought they started the game really well. That's got to be the best catch of Cole Kmet's career. I mean, that was an unbelievable touchdown to open the game. They marched down the field. You kind of felt good about what they were doing. I think ultimately the defense kept them in the game. And you saw some improvement from that group. But as you say, 5, I think it's the first time they've had 5 turnovers since like 2021. And I believe they've lost the last 8 games they've played where they've had 5 turnovers. It's just not a recipe to be able to win a game. But they lost by a touchdown. I mean, how were they that close given all of the turnovers? Crazy.
Yeah, it was crazy because, all right, if you look at the offense, they played a very good first half. The defense, I think, give up 5 of 6 third downs, right, in the first half, and they came out and made an adjustment. They came out and stopped them. 3 and out the first two drives. And I thought they did a good job. I think it's only 7 points in the second half they gave up. It's just too bad the offense couldn't match that, because if they could have matched that, I think that's a win. If they come out and play like they did in the first half, that's a win. But it's kind of shocking that it was that close with that turnover battle being the way it is. And if you just, what do you say? If you cut that in half, you probably win.
Right.
But it is what it is. And again, it's that rookie quarterback. He made 2 throws. Matt Ryan talked about him really well behind him. The receiver that was kind of open, that, hopefully in the future, if he does get more playing time, that he makes the proper throw there. But it's tough to win in this league with a rookie quarterback. That's why I praised him so much that first game where he beat the Raiders. I just, I was in shock that a rookie quarterback came in and won a game. And then I was in shock the first half of how well he was playing. And then everything came down to earth.
Yeah, you think about it, right? Like Santos misses that field goal, so the game's actually closer.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
He misses a 40-yard field goal, which for him is rare. Right. He doesn't
Yes,
miss a
yeah,
lot, especially from 40 yards. So
Yes.
the game is a lot closer. Even if we just make a routine field goal for Santos, they're up by 3, I think, at half, and then they're only down by 4 when they have the ball again. So just kind of they were right there in the game. Like you're saying, Mully, the offense puts up 250 yards in the first half, but this is the Saints' MO. Like, you have to know when you go at halftime, they play bad defense in the first half and great defense in the second half. I think Duncan said that, right? We had Jeff Duncan on in the pregame show, and he talked to us about exactly what they were. And at this time of the year, guys, when a team has an identity, that's what they are, man. They don't change very much. So you got to know when you come out at half, the defense is about to get stingy. And I think, I don't know what you guys, so I was going to ask you guys this question. I thought all that running and stuff in the first half, the hits that Bagent took, I thought it took something off his throws a little bit, that maybe he got bumped a little bit on his legs and he couldn't put as much juice on the ball anymore.
That's a good point. That could be it.
He was holding the ball a lot at the end of the game. I mean,
the O-line was doing a great job, weren't they?
Well, it was, I mean, he eventually collapsed, but good God, it was like he was really, I mean, we hear all these arguments that Justin Fields is holding the ball too long. He wasn't making the same quick decisions. Now, maybe no one was open. We'll get a better view of the tape, but I felt like, especially at the end of the game, he was taking too many hits because he was holding the ball too long.
Can you say, did the O-line make him too comfortable? Because at the beginning of the game, I mean, he had all day. It was impressive, and maybe he just kind of felt that. But you can't, again, going back to rookie quarterback, knowing the situation and the defense is going to tee off late there in the game, and you got to be ready for that. You cannot hold the ball, and that was one of his strengths. Then it just showed up that he didn't learn.
Yeah, and he was checking in and out of plays early in that game, right? Getting them in and out of the right plays. Matt Ryan was talking about that. When they talk about it means you can run the play. Tapping his helmet, doing a nice job, doing zone reads, right? Which we thought they should give Justin Fields more zone reads, and he was running the zone read and running them well. But as soon as they got to, you know that after that first 15, what you see on film is going to change, right? They're going to adjust to what you're trying to do. And Matt Ryan, I think Matt Ryan and Tiki Barber, I don't know about you guys, I enjoy listening to them.
Yes.
They do a really nice job giving you the point of view from two different positions. But Matt Ryan talked about the cover 2 fooling Bagent again, right? Just like it could have fooled him the last game with DJ Moore. Getty talked about that on Thursday when he rode his quarterback under the bus. But it happened again, right? It happened again with Bagent. So, it's just a young rookie quarterback against this New Orleans Saints defense. Even though we were there, even though we looked good, that defense, we think we look good because we thought we were going to look so bad. That defense ends up doing what they do, right? Getting 5 takeaways and shutting the offense down in the second half, which is what they did the last 3 weeks of their games.
Yeah, I mean, I got to tell you, when you think about kind of how they managed to stay in the game, there were a couple of opportunities where if they make a play here or there, if the offense had kind of a big play here or there, that's a totally different game. I mean, it was a good football game, despite the fact they turned the ball over 5 times, which is an extraordinary thing to say.
And like I said at the beginning, that's credit to the defense because they had 4 series down 7 points. 4 series. You'd hope you'd score some points, at least 3 or something, but you had 4 chances, and you bungled 3 of them away with 3 turnovers and 1 punt. Then you got a penalty on that punt, and we can probably talk about that later. But yeah, it didn't go well for the offense. It didn't look good at the end, and he didn't look comfortable. As comfortable as he looked in the first half, to me, he looked as uncomfortable in the second half. I don't know what you guys thought.
Yeah, they were dropping into that zone coverage and almost baiting him into throws, right? It looked like they did a really nice job knowing where he wanted to go with the ball and then jumping throws, and he put a little behind on a couple of those throws. But when you talk about that defense, Pat, you gotta mention Sanborn. Right? What a game he had, right? You gotta mention Sanborn. You gotta mention the fact that with Sweat on the field, you actually saw a pass rush all of a sudden, right? Guys coming free, not a lot, but it was more than we're used to, right? Not a lot, but it was at least a little bit more. Sweat goes against Ramczyk, one of the best right tackles in the NFL. I'd like to see him against someone not as good. But to Pat's point, that defense did a good job. Coach Flus, I thought he was blitzing too much early on against a quarterback like Derek Carr, and he stopped in the second half, and he just played coverage. And even with Tyreek Stevenson out, I don't know what happened there, but with Jaylon Jones in, the secondary did a good job, even with Brisker out. So just credit to a defense that was a short man there in the second half. I thought they played really good, and Billings continues to be stout there in the middle of that line against the run.
And to your point about the broadcast, Olin, I was a little bit going into the game. I was kind of had my antenna up a little bit, because I remember when Ryan Pace, when Tony Romo called a game, and Ryan Pace was an old teammate of his, and oh God, it was like this propaganda broadcast. I thought that Ryan Poles and Matt Ryan are good friends and former teammates at Boston College, and I didn't get any sense of Matt Ryan trying to sell you on some storyline that would help the Bears. I thought he did a very fair and kind of unbiased job.
I couldn't agree with you more.
Yeah,
I couldn't agree with you more with the way they did. And I think Tiki Barber does a nice job explaining what the running back and what you're seeing from the line and the secondary, with Matt Ryan telling you what a rookie quarterback is going through. And as we talk about, like when I talk about offensive line play, I'm biased towards offensive line. By that I mean I can always find you an excuse of why an offensive lineman missed the block or why their job is hard, right? Like obviously you got to take that into account when Matt Ryan's talking about quarterbacks, right? Because I thought on the other side, I thought he did a terrible job telling us how bad Derek Carr was playing, because he was playing terrible. But it is good to just hear their point of view. I think they do a good job bouncing off each other. And like you're saying, Mully, I didn't hear any of that from him. He just talked about the game and told you what he saw on each play.
Yeah, I wonder if he and Poles talked before and said, listen, I'm not even going to bring that up. There's no need to. Maybe they knew before about how much that was going on with Romo and Pace, but I'm glad they didn't, because that would kind of slant the take of the game, right? Because nobody knows that outside of Chicago.
Right.
So maybe they didn't need to bring that up, and I'm glad they didn't.
Yeah, I was glad they didn't do that. What did you think of Darnell Mooney's game? He seemed to get the ball more, and he seemed as productive as he's been in a long time.
I like the yak. I like him turning it up, not going out of bounds and trying to get the extra yards. Then you get to see his explosiveness, too. When he gets the ball in his hands with a little bit of space, puts that first foot in the ground, he gets up the field fast, and he shows what scouts see and what coaches see from him. And I thought he played a good game, and it was nice to see him get involved. Again, though, I'd go back to Olin. Maybe I'd rather have DJ Moore get the ball more, but it is nice to see him get the ball, and I thought he had a nice game.
Yeah, I think especially he shows you that speed on that little boot, right, where it looked like they dropped him in coverage and he turned it up. But I thought that's been coming, Mully, for a couple of weeks now. I thought maybe to start the year he was trying to get his feet under him, and maybe that injury he hadn't fully healed. But I thought he's been coming a little bit more the last 2 or 3 weeks. And if they can get him involved in this offense against the ad to take some of that pressure off DJ Moore, maybe roll that coverage away from him a little bit more. Now, Cole Kmet is benefiting, right, from it. But Cole Kmet, man, I mean, they say, like Pat, right, like when a guy that will do all the little things like block and do all the things coaches ask him to do that doesn't get the attention on him, they'll start to draw plays for him. And I got to credit Getty for drawing that boot throwback to Cole Kmet, and then he catches it. What a good catch. But two guys, I think, again, the game is kind of a weird game because they lost. They had 5 turnovers, but there were so many guys that you watched and said, hey, man, that guy's improving, right? That guy's playing a little better football than I've seen on film lately, especially, again, we talk about, man. I mean, I credit this team. I don't know how much you can credit the coaching staff, guys, because I don't want to go too far here, but the performance they put on after the week they had, I thought they were going to get dismantled again in New Orleans, and they still lost, and they still could have lost 30. The Saints take a knee down there, so they still could have scored 30 points, but they still went out there and competed and looked like they were playing hard football.
Olin, this is where we're at, though, right?
Yeah,
they're a 2-7 team, and this is what we're trying to find the good out of it, and it's part of it because you're disappointed. I'm sitting here watching, pulling, and then I'm like, well, I guess at the end of the game I knew they were going to lose, but they did. They played okay. There were some signs of life. There were, like you said, Olin, that's a great point about what they went through last week and how they came back out and fought like they did, because that's a tough week on a team like that. That's a really tough team. And to go back to that Cole Kmet catch, those were in the years past we'd see players drop those, right? You never saw a guy from the Bears really go up and go get it, at least in the last few years, and that was nice to see. And the one I was really hoping DJ Moore would have come down the one he had in the end zone. He had his hands on it, just bobbled the hair.
DJ Moore's fumble, too, was strange, right, for him.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah, exactly.
You know?
Yep.
No, he doesn't fumble. That was a bad one.
Yeah, and then like if you think about these Bears, man, like just that Cole Kmet, Tevin Jenkins, it's just again we talk about that multiplier in offense, right? That quarterback. It's just they're like we've been so long around here. We're a man short. And Pat, to your point, not 2-7, right? 5-21, right? Like that's why we're here.
Yeah, you're right.
know?
Yep, yep.